Bismillahir-Rahmanir-Rahim. Surah Al-Baqarah, chapter 2, and we will cover verses 183 and 187 of Surah Al-Baqarah. The program of Siyam, fast under the system of Deen. So these verses will cover fasting and how it affects the system of Deen. Some reflections on that. These are the references. Some of the excerpts are taken from the Meanings of the Quran, Volume 3. This is our contact in case there is any question or query regarding this presentation or any of our past presentations. Outline of today's presentation. Verse 183 begins by addressing the Jamaat Momineen, Ya ayyuhallazina amanu. As noted previously as well, that when Quran is using this term, it means that the system of Deen is in place, asking them to observe the program of Siyam, commonly translated as fasting, in order to become Muttaqeen. And the verse ends with la'allakum tattaqoon. Then some details are covered about the procedure and the exceptions to be observed by Momineen within the system of Deen. For example, who can keep fasts under this well-defined program of Siyam, with all subclasses worked out for the guidance of our citizens on whom it is applicable. So we should keep in mind that since this is a program under the system of Deen, which has already taken shape, and it is going through a transitional phase from the man-made system towards the system of Deen and its optimum form, therefore some subclasses will have to be worked out for the optimum implementation of this program. Next, the ideological basis of this program is briefly highlighted by saying that the revelation of the Quran commenced in the month of Ramadan. The aim of the program is succinctly clarified, i.e., to promote and establish the rule of the laws of Allah, and the term used is Tokabbir-ullah. We will go over it in one of the slides. In the implementation of this program, the importance of having a strong desire and need turned into a supplication is highlighted, and the Jamaat Momineen are reminded about the importance of strengthening of Iman and remaining firmly on the straight path. Further limits are defined in relation to this program of Siyam, where those retained for any further consultation and implementation should pay full attention to this aspect, helping to strengthen the system. And in this verse, mankind is addressed. Let's go to the first verse of today's presentation, verse 183, the issue of fasting under the system of Deen. And Quran says, Ya ayyuhallazina amanu kutiba alaykum as-siyamu kama kutiba alal-lazina min qablikum la'allakum tattaqoon. But whether it is the question of steadfastness and determination in the battlefield, or the establishment of the system of justice and equality in the social and economic world, this is only possible when you have control over your own self. And we know that all along Quran puts all emphasis on human self-development, because outer world cannot change unless our inner psyche changes. So with that in mind, we will go through these verses. I.e., when there is a clash between the demands of your physical body, and that is the animalistic level of living, and the higher human value, you give this value preference over your physical need. Furthermore, you become used to living a life of courage and toiling tirelessly. For achieving this aim, fasting is prescribed for you just the way they were prescribed for nations before you. The aim from this is that you become enabled to obey the laws of Allah and remain secure from the dangers of the path on the journey of life. So this program is very much part of the system of Deen which has been established. It is not something for observing even in non-Muslim lands where there is no Deen established. So this aspect we should keep in mind, and it will become clear as we go through this talk. The meaning of Saum, next slide. The meaning of Siyam, and Siyam is the plural of Saum, a root is here, is to stop, to remain away, to halt. After declaring a few things to be haram, the Quran has declared the rest of the things as halal and tayyib. We covered it under verse 173. There is an absolute prohibition on haram things other than for exceptions, but soldierly life is such in which those circumstances can become created, and these generally arise in which we also have to refrain from even halal and tayyib things. In a state of war, these may not be available or there is no time to consume them. In order to become accustomed to the soldierly life, it will be necessary that during the conditions of peace, self-prohibition is imposed for a period of time on oneself so that the ability to self-sustain is enhanced. The name of this is Saum, and a plural is Siyam. We think that its translation should be self-discipline instead of fasting, as in this case it will be closer to the Quranic meaning. In Surah Azab, those prominent attributes of Momin men and women are mentioned, in which Saimina and Saimat are also included. Its translation as men keeping fast and women keeping fast will not make the Quranic meaning clear. Its meaning will be stopping from everything from which the command is to stop, i.e., keeping their own selves in control, followers of discipline. And we can see that how much emphasis the Quran puts on self-discipline. And that is why some of these limits are laid down so that a very strong Jamaat Momineen emerges out of mankind. Next slide, continuing with the meanings of the verse. This verse is also addressed to the Jamaat Momineen, i.e., like verse 178, indicating that the system of Deen is in place. This verse and previous verses end with the hikmat of the commands given here. An important reference to be drawn from these verses is that the Quran invites mankind firstly to accept Iman in order to become Momineen. Then asks those Momineen who have come together to form a Jamaat to become Muttaqeen on this eternal journey of life, which they have all willingly committed to tread on together. So this aspect we should keep in mind, that the verse is addressing Jamaat Momineen, which has emerged very clearly and have also got power in the land, and then asking them, and then the Quran is inviting them to become Muttaqeen. For example, in verse 177, we went through some of the main characteristics of Muttaqeen. This also means that without the system of Deen in place, what is being prescribed here can never produce those results which are associated with the system itself. And that is very important, because Quran wants us to conserve our energy, conserve our efforts, so that these can produce maximum results. This is not about doing something individually as part of worship, but it has to be done within the confines of the system of Deen. We can clearly observe the futility of fasting in the month of Ramadan by Muslims all across the world without the existence of the system of Deen. And that is why it is not producing any results, because this is not in line with what the Quran has asked us to do. This practice falls under this verse. Quran says, أَفَتُؤْمِنُونَ بِبَعْضِ الْكِتَابِ وَتَكْفُرُونَ بِبَعْضٍ فَمَا جَزَاءُ مَنْ يَفْعَلُ ذَلِكَ مِنْكُمْ إِلَّا خِزْيٌ فِي الْحَيَاةِ الدُّنْيَا. And we have gone through this verse previously. Then is it only a part of the book that you have Iman in, and do you do kufr to the rest? And this is a very important part of instruction by the Quran, that if you are only following part of it and thinking that you are fulfilling the duty towards Allah in terms of the system of Deen, then you are sadly mistaken. This formula of the Quran has to be accepted holistically, completely, total. If part of the formula is followed, then you will not get the results from the Quran. You will waste your effort and yourself will never develop. But what is the retribution for those among you who behave like this, but humiliation in this life? Because half-hearted attempts on any work in life, we simply cannot get the intended results. And we have seen that the nations who are secular and are fully committed to the physical laws, how quickly they get results in the word. And those who are not following this, particularly the religious people who are indulged in these religious rituals, they are backward and will always remain backward in the word. For the implementation of these verses, it is a must to have power in the land. Next slide is the Quran explains the rationale of its commands. The Quran has stated that Deen has been one and the same right from the beginning. Hence, as far as the eternal commands are concerned, the same were provided via every messenger of Allah. The life of a mujahid was the demand of the Deen of Allah in every era. And mujahid over here means the one who strives on the path of Allah after accepting Iman. Hence, Siyam were also prescribed on the ummahs of these messengers, as these are made compulsory on the Muslim ummah. In Deen, with every command, Allah Himself explains the reason for giving such a command, what the consequence of it will be, and what benefit will be accrued. In fact, in Deen, a command is not given, it is a law that is given, and that very law is that if you do this, then this will be the consequence. This then is explained by the lawgiver, Allah Himself, so that man does not remain trapped in some misunderstanding or misconception. If this, then this is going to happen, is not explained, then man can never say with certainty whether this command is being obeyed correctly or not. It is possible that it is not being followed correctly, but by never having a criterion to test it, he may continue to do it in the same manner, due to which not only is no beneficial outcome achieved, in fact, a loss is suffered. Human toil and effort going to waste is not a minor loss. And we have gone over it previously as well, that our life is a one-way street. We are never going to come back to this world, and we are not going to get any other chance. Hence, we should take the life seriously, and what Quran is telling us, we should follow it precisely the way it is asking us to obey Allah's laws. When Allah gave laws together with this, He also declared that by doing this, what will be the outcome, so that man can keep testing if obedience to the command is being carried out correctly. In this connection, see volume 1, verse 2-3. We have covered it previously. This is the mutual connection between law and hikmat. Kitab means law, and hikmat means what the purpose and aim is of this law, why such a command is given, and what will be its outcome. So it makes things very clear. So whatever we do in the light of the Quran, the tangible results must appear sometimes in the future. This is the meaning of putting li or la allakum with it. And Quran says, for example, over here in this verse, la allakum tattaqoon. We go to the next verse, 184, some aspects of fasting highlighted. Ayyaman madudatin faman kana minkum maridan aw ala safarin fa iddatun min ayyamin ukhara. Walallazina yutikunahu fidyatun ta'amu miskinin. Faman tatawwa khairan fahuwa khairul lahu. Wa an tasumu khairul lakum in kuntum ta'lamun. These fasts are for a number of days. The defining of numbers is in itself a means for creating discipline. Then whoever among you is an invalid or is journeying, then he should complete this number at another time. But if the situation is such that an individual is neither ill nor in the state of a journey, but his condition is such that he can barely fulfill a fast, so that for him the question of completing fast another time simply does not arise. He should make arrangements for the food for some needy people, and the term used is miskeen. Due to this, at least the emotional connection with disabled people will remain in place due to this collective duty. See, by mentioning miskeen over here, we should keep in mind that these are the initial stages of the establishment of the system of Deen, because with the passage of time, there will be no miskeen and yatim left in the land, because they will all be taken care of under the system of rububiyat established under Deen. It is obvious that the decision for this matter cannot be made legally. Whether you can bear the hardship of fasting, this is for you to decide. Hence, assess your own condition. And this is beauty of the Quran, is that while this program is being implemented, it is also passing on the responsibility to individual Momineen to take care of their own self-development at the same time. If you think that your situation is such, then it is better for you to fast even if there is relatively some hardship. So it is the change in our heart and mind to accept under the system of Deen that this is for our own good, that we self-discipline our own self. And for our own self-development, we should carry out this program as part of the wider program under the system of Deen. This is because the aim which can be achieved through fasting, it cannot be achieved by charity, and the term used is fidya, provided you are aware of the rationale, that is the hikmat of fasting. We go to the next slide, some elaboration. It is stated here that these Siyam are days which can be counted, i.e., it is a refresher course for a defined period of time. This duration is spelled out. Whoever is at home among you, he should keep Saum for the whole month, i.e., its duration is 1 month. And we should keep in mind that what goes on in that land where Deen is established in terms of keeping shops open and keeping places of eating open. For example, there will be non-Momineen over there as well, non-Muslims residing over there. So all these things will be worked out under sub-clauses within the system, because the system must not create hardships for others who are not Muslims. So that point we should keep in mind. By combining these two verses, the commands about Siyam are elaborated, i.e., this duration is of 1 month. Whichever person is at his home, he should keep Saum for full 1 month. And if he is sick or in a state of travel, then on recovering his health or after returning from his travels, he should complete this duration. One more category remains, i.e., an individual is also at home but is not sick, also not traveling, but constitutionally so weak that he cannot tolerate hunger and thirst, or is suffering from a certain disease from which recovery is not expected, or due to old age he is becoming frailer, or he has some other disability due to which he cannot fulfill Saum even after this month. So then what should he do? About him it is noted that he should pay its recompense, so that if not physically, then at least he should be mentally participating in this collective program of the Ummah. It should be made clear that here we have noted the prevalent meanings of the words. Otherwise, as noted earlier, this is all part of the program of a training course. So that system of Deen will have to work out in detail that how this program will be managed every year. For example, during this month, there will maybe extra lectures, seminars, training things are, and education program is organized during this month. What is said here regarding the recovering of a sick patient and a traveler returning from a journey, that he should complete his count. The military system of the state will make arrangements for a special course for such people. Next slide, further comments. The exception which is noted here, i.e., those people who can only fulfill Saum with difficulty, it is obvious that this decision can only be made by the individual himself. No one else can. This sense of duty and responsibility under this system will go very high. Individuals will themselves decide whether they want to keep the fast or not, and what kind of a work they are doing within that system, and whether they can keep fast or not. For this, it is said that if some case is borderline, i.e., he can do it or maybe cannot. For this, it is said that he should not go to the law, rather should make this decision himself. If he sees that there will be hardship, but he will be able to get through Saum, then it is better that he should fulfill it, because the aim which he can achieve from Saum, that is part of self-discipline and self-development, he cannot get this by giving a recompense, because he has to experience it. That is how to stay away from thirst, how to stay away from water and food. that is experience hunger and thirst as part of his improvement of his own body. And we should keep in mind that there is a lot of talk of intermittent fasting and others. These things have nothing to do with the Quranic command over here. Those are in the physical domain. This is as part of the system of Deen. And for that, we can watch some YouTube video in our own time. Because some people, what they do is that this command of fasting given in the Quran, they try to justify it by looking at the medical science and the physical law side of it. But we should keep in mind that this is exclusively in the domain of human self-development, provided you understand the hikmat behind Saum. The wording of the verse is, for those who can do it with hardship, can feed a miskeen in lieu. In every renowned and established lugat, for example, Tajul Arus, Muhit, Imam Raghib, Akrabul Mawarid, etc., all are unified on this, that Attaka is that energy from which some task can be accomplished with hardship. From this, they have explained that where La tahammilna ma la taqata lana has appeared in the Quran, this does not mean that do not put such responsibilities on ourselves for which we do not have the capacity. Its meaning is such tasks which we can do through hardships. In explanation of this verse, it is written in the famous Tafsirul Manar from Egypt. Arabs say at-taqa'ul shay, at that time when strength is so reduced that intense effort has to be borne in order to carry out some task. The meaning of allazina yutiqunahu is the weak, elderly, those disabled ones whose chances of recovery from their disease are not expected. So this term is used in this verse. Those skillful workers are laborers whose profession is hard labor and intense tasks. In addition, those criminals who are employed on hard tasks. When keeping Saum is hard on such people, and if they can give in lieu, then they are included in this command. So it means that all these sub-clauses, all these details will be worked out by the system of Deen and not left to the individuals to work it out themselves. So clear instructions will be provided across the land for everyone, and they should be well informed. We go to the next verse, 185, importance of collective human life highlighted. Shahru Ramzan allazi unzila fihi al-Quranu hudal lin-nas wa bayyinatin min al-huda wal furqan. Faman shahida minkum ash-shahra fal yasumhu wa man kana marizan aw ala safarin fa iddatun min ayyamin ukhra yuridullahu bikumul yusra wala yuridu bikumul usra wale tukmilul iddata wale Tokabbir-ullah ala ma hadakum wala'allakum tashkurun. Here the question arises that why has the month of Ramadan been selected for this collective and soldierly training, the development of the self? Because this is that month in which the revelation of the Quran commenced. That Quran which informs the whole of mankind about such a path to reach its desired destination, which is perspicuous and prominent and noteworthy, and which presents the scales of the permanent values so that there is continual differentiation between haq and batil. So the term used is al-Furqan. The discipline and self-control of fasting is an annual training for remaining vigilant in this supreme program. Hence, the individual who is present at home during this month, he should keep the fasts of this month. But he who is ill or is in the state of journeying, he should complete the number at another time. And the one who cannot keep fasts without hardship, it has been noted about him earlier. These allowances are so that Allah wishes to create ease for you. He does not wish to create hardships and difficulties. And if we view it within that program of Deen, then people will stay motivated. Hence, you should complete the number on other days. Continuing with the rest of the meanings of the verse, listen to this again, that fasts are not merely to fulfill a ritual, Because once it becomes ritual, then it will lose its beneficial effects, because these will not contribute to the self-development. The aim from these is that you become enabled for this, that the guidance which Allah has bestowed on you through these, you are able to raise the law of Allah higher than the laws of the whole world. And that is the aim. So Quran gives a very clear aim so that we put in our best on this path called Sirat-e-Mustaqim. And the effort which you make for this aim, it contains the best outcomes. The common translation of this verse is, Ramadan is the month in which was sent down the Quran as a guide to mankind, also clear signs for guidance and judgment between right and wrong. So every one of you who is present at their home during that month should spend it in fasting. But if anyone is ill or on a journey, the prescribed period should be made up by days later. Allah intends every facility for you. He does not want to put you in difficulties. He wants you to complete the prescribed period to glorify Him in that He has guided you, and perchance you shall be grateful. See, I have highlighted this part, to glorify Him in that He has guided you. So what they have done is they have added some kind of additional takbir in the prayer of Eid. Whereas Quran over here is pointing towards to elevating the status of the laws of Allah in the world and to establish the system guided by the Quran. That is, the Quran should be the constitution of that system. Further elucidation of this verse. In this connection, it has elucidated 3 points. So that you become Muttaqeen. So that your efforts bring out the best outcome, and Quran calls it shukr. And to declare His supremacy in that He has guided you. The meaning of Taqwa has been explained in volume 1 under verse 2, i.e. being protected from the dangers of the path, heeding the laws of Allah with vigilance. Hence, the first outcome of the program of Siyam will be that you will be able to confront dangers and will become enabled to preserve the laws of Allah, and discipline will be produced within you. Note, under the existing religious practice, the aim is to earn sawab and please Allah. And this fasting in Ramadan is carried out without Deen as a system anywhere on the planet Earth, and it is left to the individual to get some kind of individual salvation, which is not the aim of these verses and of the Quran. The second outcome will be that a full result will emerge from your efforts. The meaning of shukr has been explained in volume 2 under verse 52. Hence it is stated that because of the program of Siyam, the ability of patience and discipline will be created in you. Due to this, your efforts will bear full fruition. From this question emerged that efforts are made for the achievement of some aim. What is the aim for which these courage-testing efforts will be made, and these will produce full results? This aim is summed up in the very comprehensive term of Tokabbir-ullah, that is supremacy of Allah. The reality is that Tokabbir-ullah is the purpose of Deen and the ultimate desired aim of Jamaat Momineen, that is Muslim Ummah. This Ummah lives for it, its all efforts are for this, and its death is for its sake. We go to the next slide, Tokabbir-ullah, and this is explained briefly. This term has appeared in this verse. The meaning of supremacy is extreme height, such power and control in which there is no power and control above it, the possessor of total authority, ultimate authority, the holder of absolute power. In today's political terminology, this will be termed as sovereign power. It is stated in Surah Jatiyah, His is the supremacy in the outer universe and within the human world. But His supremacy is based on hikmat. And the term used is Walahul Kibriyau fis samawati wal ard. See, the same word, kibr, is used over here. In relation to the control and authority of Allah in the outer universe, there is no need for any evidence or argument. His established laws have authority in every aspect of it, and such rule that there is no one's authority is above it. The implementation of these laws in the human world will be called the establishment of Allah's supremacy. This is the responsibility of the Muslim Ummah. This is called the rule of Allah or the system of Deen. So essentially, Quran is saying that this program of Siyam will contribute towards establishing the supremacy of Allah on the planet Earth through this system of Deen, which will be established through the hands of Jamaat Momineen. After assigning the responsibility of Nubuwwat to Rasulullah, that is the messengerhood, the foremost command given was this: rise and warn people about the destructive effects of acting on laws which are not Allah's, and establish the supremacy of your Rabb. And the words used are Kum fanzir wa rabbuka fakabbir. We go to the next verse, 186, the way supplications become accepted. وَإِذَا سَأَلَكَ عِبَادِي أَنِّي فَإِنِّي قَرِيبٌ أُجِيبُ دَعْوَةَ الدَّاعِ إِذَا دَعَانِ فَلْيَسْتَجِيبُوا لِي وَلْيُؤْمِنُوا بِي لَعَلَّهُمْ يَرْشُدُونَ. Nor through the command for fasting should this idea arise in your mind that by giving up material pleasures and bodily needs, man comes closer to Allah, as is believed about obvious meditations and practices under the maslak of monasticism. O Rasool, when my servants ask you about myself, say to them that I am always close by to them. Like this, that whenever an individual calls to me for his guidance, then my law of guidance, which is preserved in the Quran, responds to his call and appears prominently before him. So the Quran is saying that if we are supplicating to Allah, we should approach the Quran and find out the solution to our problem. And most of the problems which are at individual level are due to the absence of Deen in the world. So we should make an effort to establish the system of Deen. Therefore, say to them that the procedure to become closer to Allah is that by maintaining a firm conviction in the truth of my law, these people should obey it fully. We can look at some of these verses which are quoted here. This is that procedure through which they will keep treading firmly on the correct path of life. All this will take place due to their deeds. So Quran has said, La'allahum yarshudun, that you should follow the path of Rushd, which is the correct path, and not only to follow the path of Rushd, that is the correct path defined by the Quran, but also do all the planning and make all resources and means available for doing it properly. Further elaboration, next slide. A detailed presentation has been shared on supplication, that is dua, previously in December 2021. The link to this presentation will be provided in the notes to this talk. 2 points are noteworthy in this verse. Allah listens to the supplication of every human being. He is with each one wherever he or she is. But then the question is, how does he respond to the supplication of each one of us? According to the Quran, this is a statement of fact. Hence, this eliminates any intermediary between man and Allah. Hence, there is no need for us to go to someone else to pray on our behalf. We should approach the Quran and find out the solution to the problem. This aspect is explained in the Quran from beginning to end. The system established on behalf of Allah responds to the supplications of people. For example, in verse 75 of Surah An-Nisa, the Jamaat Momineen are asked to go and help those who are stranded among the Kafireen and are supplicating to Allah for help. And this is the same condition of the people who are suffering in Palestine. Since there is no Jamaat Momineen in the world, hence they are not finding any help from anyone. And we have seen that how things are developing in the world, because ultimately Iran has stood up for them, but Iran being weak is unable to help to the extent which is required by these human beings in Palestine. In the second part of the verse, it is made clear by saying, وَلْيُؤْمِنُوا بِي لَعَلَّهُمْ يَرْشُدُونَ. Accept Iman first by coming to the path of Rushd, and then establish the system of Deen as noted in verse, for example, 177 2241 and 2455. We have gone over these aspects previously as well. This is how dua provides direction to the path of rushd, i.e. through the Quran. We go to the last verse of this presentation, verse 187, further elaboration of Siyam, that is fasting. Hallakum laylata siyamir rafaso ila nisaikum hunna libasul lakum wa antum libasul lahunna. Alimallahu annakum kuntum takhtanuna anfusakum fataba alaykum wa afa ankum. Falana bashiruhunna wabtagu ma kataballahu lakum. Wakulu washrabu hatta yatabayyana lakumul khitul abyazu minal khitil aswade minal fajr. Summa timmu siyama ila al-layli wa la tubashiruhunna wa antum akifuna fil masajid tilka hududullahi fala taqrabuha kazalika yubayyinullahu ayatihi lin-nasi la'allahum yattaqun. Also understand that fasting is only during the daytime. There is no forbiddance of eating and drinking during the night, nor to approach your wives. Intimate relations with wives do not become an impediment in the path of nearness to Allah. This too is a concept created by the maslak of monasticism. The relationship of a husband and wife is an inseparable bond and such a close relationship that no third party can become an obstruction in it. Allah knows what the urges are of the human self and what kinds of thoughts originate in the heart of man under the maslak of monasticism through which he keeps doing wrong to his own self. Continuing with the meanings of the verse, hence in this regard the law of Allah goes beyond the self-imposed limits of men, and the whisperings which were arising in your hearts by overlooking them makes it clear that during the night time, according to the law of Allah, you can both go to your wives and also eat and drink, until such a time that the first light of dawn becomes distinct from the darkness of the night. After this, fulfill your fast until nightfall. But if you are staying back in the centers for education and allegiance, that is Masajid, for some special course for this training so that you can properly sort out tangled matters, then you should not have relations with your wives during these nights either, and keep focused on the matters before you with complete single-mindedness. And see how much Quran is putting an emphasis that grow out of the animalistic level of life, come to the self's level within the system of Deen, and then start developing yourself by taking active part in its proceedings, in its activities. That's it. These are those limits which the law of Allah has defined in this regard. Guard these vigilantly. Thus does Allah explain His commands and laws in a prominently clear way so that people guard these vigilantly, and Quran is called it Taqwa. In this verse, the wording wa antum akifuna fil masajid has appeared and it needs further reflection. Regarding Masajid, discussion has been covered under verse 114. About Akifun, it is noted under verse 125 that these are those people who are busy in resolving difficult issues of the system with total devotion, employing their intellect and reasoning. So under the sectarian Islam, this practice is called itkaf. Finally, these verses, that is 183 to 187, which we have covered today, also relate to the system of Deen. After directing our attention to expansiveness, that is bir, which was covered under verse 177, the Quran has referred to various steps in this program of Allah, which is called Deen, by outlining the constituents of Iman and then listing various actions as outcomes of accepting this Iman, that is to become Muttaqeen. So we are seeing that in verse 177 at the end as well, Quran says, Ulaika allazina sadaku wa ulaika humul muttaqoon. In verse 178, addressing the Jamaat Momineen, which should emerge by following verse 177 and by coming together in the light of other related commands, for example in verse 103 of Surah Al-Imran, it has provided guidance regarding crime and punishment within the land in which they have acquired power. The principle of adopting qasas is highlighted for implementation in the society, And we knew qasas means to investigate every crime in the land properly. In verse 179, the Jamaat Momineen are further instructed to look into the aspect of making a bequest, that is, writing a will, when death is approaching anyone. Implicit in this is the subliminal reminder about death as a deadline, so that under Deen, the Momineen remain on their guard and never give up Taqwa. The Jamaat Momineen are again addressed in verse 183, which we have gone through today, to look at the program of Siyam under the system of Deen, which is not merely about abstaining from food and drink during the day for 1 month. And this is another very important point which we should take away from today's presentation, that Quran over here is saying that don't revolve your life about food and drink. Food and drink are there to sustain your physical sight, but the main aim is taqwa. Rise above it and do not make this focus of your life that all the time you are worried about food and drink and nothing else. It should be worked out in such a way that it leads to the strengthening of the sovereignty of Allah's laws on planet Earth under the constitution of His book. In all these verses, the common denominator is the term taqwa, i.e., aiming to become those Muttaqeen who can carry out the program of the book of Allah. And this term will again appear in our future presentations. Thanks for your time and for sharing this today. Please feel free to share it with your contacts. You may like to subscribe for future talks related to the Quranic system of Deen.